Hey, folks out there. Just so you know, originally this stream was supposed to debut at 11, but since then there's been some technical difficulties. I'm trying my best to get my guest Jeff on the here on the channel. I'm going to send him a link this way. Again, technical difficulties. My Wi-Fi has been not the greatest this morning. But yeah, let me just try to send him the link this way. Hopefully we will get him on shortly. But drop those comments if you're on. I will answer them in time. Let's see. Hopefully he gets this. Banner. Jeff, if you're watching, I sent the link. But guys, if you're again, drop any questions or comments you have down below. I'm available. Ask me anything at the moment. And how's the audio? Is the audio working okay? For those of you who are just joining me right now, I had some technical difficulties. The Wi-Fi's sort of been wonky. For those of you watching, drop a comment down below. hopefully I will get John on very soon, Jeff on very soon.
Hey, can you hear me? Hey, can you hear me, man? Hey, Joel, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Cool. I I couldn't really tell. Sorry about that. I ended up getting a last minute phone call for work right as you messaged me and said you were live, so I had to take that real quick.
Oh, no worries, no worries. Yeah,
It's about
as
middle of the day here
you
for me
as you
on my
know,
side.
I've had some technical difficulties.
The best of
Right,
us do.
right, yeah. But welcome to the channel.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
So
yes, yes.
so you're
So
wanting to
folks,
talk
if
some
you
some of your favorite
are
trilogies
joining
today,
in,
huh?
you're very welcome. Thank you for accepting my invitation. Yeah, yeah, and I know you're packing. I know you're packing based on the picture you sent me.
Yeah, I just pulled some of my favorites real quick just to kind of have a different genres and just different stuff to kind of think, kind of talk about because there's a lot of really good trilogies throughout lots of different genres.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I think. Do you want to go first, or should I? Or
You can go ahead and go first, so I can kind of get a feel for what you want to do.
okay. So I thought I'd start off with, well, this is the first franchise that came to mind, and that is the American Pie trilogy. I've had this for years now, and I still cherish it. There's a lot of funny moments, and when this originally came out in the '90s, American Pie, it was I caught a glimpse of it around in the '90s, early 2000s. MTV really promoted movies. I don't know if you had caught on about with that, but American Pie was one of those movies that caught my eye. There was a trailer of some sort, and it was rated R. It just felt like movies like American Pie nowadays. They just feel sort of taboo in a way. They were
Hey Frank.
very um,
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just
controversial in
wanted
a
to say hi
way.
to him real quick.
But yeah, this once I caught on with these movies, I watched them. They just stuck with me. I thought they were hilarious. Part two, American Pie Two, is one of those feel good movies that the comedy just is there, and I just enjoyed all three of them. Of course, after the first three movies, we had the reunion movie. We had a spin-off, and I just wanted to share this with everyone. That this trilogy is still.
Oh, okay. So I think Joel's having a little bit of connection issues. I think he just got kicked. So I'll just keep the show kind of rolling. He's talking about American Pie, right? I did not pull that trilogy. Great trilogy, in my opinion. But for some reason, I still don't own the original. I have two wedding and reunion, but I never did get the original. So I couldn't really talk about that one myself. But if we want to talk about good comedy trilogies, he's talking about coming of ages, kind of early thousands gross comedies, but we had gangster comedies in the '90s that went into the 2000s, and that's with like Friday. What a good set of movies, like I love the Friday trilogy. These ones are good. um we got 1, 2, 3, and everything. Yeah, dude, I got to get that '88 films 4K release. I seen that come out, and I should have grabbed it when it was the $18, because to be honest, I don't want to pay 35 for it. I just happened to miss it. I was too busy getting Christmas gifts for everybody. It just kind of spaced getting American Pie. But I do want to check it out because I've heard really good things about that 4K release. Yeah, I mean Friday, man. Is there a bad one? I mean, I know that a lot of people don't particularly like Friday After Next, but every other year I watch it as part of my Christmas list, my Christmas watch list, because it's a Christmas movie. So you get your stoner comedies in all of them. You get your Christmas movie. And honestly, like, yeah, we only get Smokey in the first one, and that was a lot of people's favorite. But you cannot deny Day Day. Day Day's a great character, and he kills it in Next Friday. And Friday After Next, like I said, it's just hilarious. You get like Cat Williams, and what was that other guy's name? The Pex guy. I can't remember his name, but he's in it too. Terry. No, his name's not Terry. That's his name, and that's his character name, but I can't remember. But he's the big guy. That guy there. But yeah, it got great casting. Even in that last one, that's for some reason stuck on DVD. Welcome back.
Hey Jeff. Yeah, I'm my stream just crashed, and I'm entering the studio again.
Oh, it's fine. We're still here. We're still rocking right along. I just kind of threw in the Friday one to keep it rolling right along. If you want to show off another one now.
Okay. So I don't know if you guys can see me, but Trying to get back in. Yeah, I could see you.
Yeah, you're back in, but I feel like you're on quite a bit of a delay.
I am. I am. I'm just gonna talk about. Oh, here we go. Hold on. Hold on. Go. The Lord of the Rings trilogy, and how so cool. I think this is one of the first trilogies that I got introduced to back in the early 2000s. I didn't exactly see any of them in theaters, believe it or not, but they just caught on and they just swept me in such a way. And still to this day, they hold up in terms of storytelling, in terms of character, narrative, and I just love them. I think about them every now and then, and I think it's so cool. I believe this trilogy came out around uh, the when Harry Potter the movie started rolling
Yeah,
out
the
too,
timing seems pretty right about that.
and so yeah, if you're new to this, if you've never seen this trilogy, I'd advise you to spend one day just watching all three movies, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
John.
man, I
Jeff,
love the Lord of the
what
Rings
are your thoughts
trilogy. For some
on this
reason, I
trilogy?
for some reason I forgot to pull those when you said trilogies. They're sitting over there on the shelf. I just spaced getting them, mainly because I don't feel like it's a trilogy anymore now that we have the Hobbit trilogy too. I kind of watch all six kind of back to back to back to back. So I kind of spaced that they're two separate trilogies, but they're great. I mean, they are definitely, they still hold up today too. My wife watches them yearly. Like she watches them on a rotation every year.
Oh, oh, you're so right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. They do. Mhm. I did get a chance to watch the first two Hobbit movies in theaters. Those got mixed reviews. I enjoyed them for what they were. I think people were sort of um, weirded out by the fact that they were broken into three movies, because I think it's just like one book.
Yeah, it
And
is. It is.
I
It's one.
think
It's just
who was it?
one.
Peter Jackson. Did Peter Jackson do these movies, the Hobbit
Yes,
ones?
he did the
I think
Hobbit
he did.
movies
I'm
as
not
well.
sure.
Yeah, he did all six. He also helped produce the new cartoon movie that just came out within like the last couple weeks on uh new rental, the War of Moradon or
Can you hear
something, I
me?
believe
I
it's
don't
what
know
it's
if you can hear
called.
me still. Yeah, I think it's just a great overall experience for sure. Yeah, I mean, if you're into that genre, mhm. Oh yes, uh huh. Oh, is that available now for VOD?
It is. It is.
I definitely want to check that one out.
Oh, I'm super excited.
So if you want to go ahead and show off your next choice.
So you want to you wanted to talk about Lord of the Rings, and I'm going to talk about Lord of the Rings in space with the original Star Wars trilogy. Of course, there's other trilogies. There's prequels and sequels and lots and lots of stuff. Nothing beats these three right here. This is this is one of my favorite trilogies of all time. Maybe
Do
my
you want to go ahead
favorite,
and share your next
just
pick?
because it's so so good. You know, it's not aged
Jeff, do you want to
terribly.
go
Like
ahead and show off your next
Empire Strikes Back is
set?
just so amazing. It's like the perfect sequel, you know, and you got your arcs and all that. And he tried to replicate it with the prequels, and Disney's trying to replicate it with the sequels, but they just can't. That you can't touch this. But this is basically Lord of the Rings in space, right?
No, you can. Mhm. Yeah, yeah. When you that way, but you're so right. Yeah. Can you still see me and hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you. I can still see you. Yeah, Lord of the Rings in space. Yeah, Frank, you're definitely right about that. Lord of the Rings in space for sure. But I mean, I love them. You know, I have the prequel trilogy and all the other ones too. But and I'm about to watch these. I just watched through the prequel trilogy yesterday, so I'll be watching through this trilogy. Well, after I get done with the Obi-Wan show and Rogue One, you got to watch those now because those are actually good Disney projects. Um, but you know, if we want to talk about another really good trilogy, one of the greatest in my opinion for comedy trilogies, I'm gonna go with Rush Hour. I mean, this is how I was introduced to Jackie Chan. Of course, I already knew who Chris Tucker was because of Friday. Chris Tucker was awesome in the 90s. You know, he was in Friday and Money Talks and all that. And then he got this gig with Jackie Chan. And I had a lot of fun with these. They're all three non-skippable movies. I mean, part 3, it's a little bit of a dip, but still it's super watchable. They didn't jump the shark or do anything crazy like that. They just, you know, had a good time. So, and what's cool about this is that this slip box is actually made by like Mondo. So like a decent company came in and gave this trilogy its respects. It's such a good trilogy. Like I said, it's just good from front to back. You got you got your comic relief and somebody that can't do any martial arts, and then you got your serious martial arts guy for the action part of it. Like I said, great trilogy. Um, one of the greatest of all times. And that's gonna be the Rush Hour trilogy. and they just can't touch it. We've been waiting. We've been waiting almost 20 years. Yeah, we've been waiting almost 20 years to get Rush Hour 4. I don't think it's ever coming, because why would you touch something so perfect? You know, the trilogy is pretty much set great. They did a TV show and it freaking bombed. But this is awesome. Like,
I don't remember.
trilogy is.
Yeah, I don't remember part 2, Rush Hour. I don't remember much of 3. So I'm due for a rewatch of all 3 of them.
Yeah, dude, they're all fun. All 3 of them, they hold up. They're real fun. And I think
Yeah.
if you go to like Walmart right now, you can get this same exact set, but you just don't get the slip box with it. But they have this just like this at my Walmart right now, naked, for about $12 or $13.
For sure.
Great for this trilogy. Great, because you get a bonus.
That's such a good price.
With a whole bunch of new
That's
special
a good
features.
price. Wow. Yeah, I was on Amazon yesterday and I saw it was like it had all the Saw movies for like on Blu-ray for like $8. It's not bad.
Yeah, there's about 3 trilogies of those too nowadays.
Yes. Another trilogy I just for Nolan's Batman trilogy. And we have Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, The Dark Knight Rises.
Such a great trilogy.
Yes. Yeah.
I got this slip cover for it, but then underneath of it still has a J card on it. And it's got they just did he did so good with the character for this series, for this particular trilogy. My only issue is that it falls victim to a lot of trilogies where part 3 just isn't as good as part 2. But given how good The Dark Knight is, there hasn't really been a superhero movie to do what The Dark Knight has done since. In my opinion, I love The Dark Knight like it's not a comic book movie. Like it's just a really good movie from front to back. Whether you like comic books or you like superheroes or not, The Dark Knight, in my opinion, is just one of those movies that anybody can watch. So it was really hard to take it up. And to be honest, I just didn't really like Matt Hardy as Bane. But that's just me. Still a great trilogy, though. Overall, the best Batman trilogy we have.
Absolutely, yeah. Tom Hardy as Bane. I mean, there could have been so many other actors, so many other choices, but you went with the guy who is also who you also had in Inception. So I don't know, but it is what it is. And I think Nolan's approach with these movies, he didn't want to set them in like the comic book world. He set them in such a realistic world.
They were super grounded. The only thing that like even all of the gadgets and everything were all things that could technically exist when they were showing them in the movie. You know, like the over armored bat car and all that. Like that stuff actually existed in real life. It wasn't all CGI. So all of that stuff is super grounded and super realistic. And then you see things throughout the trilogy, like Batman actually being hurt and having bruises and breaks and scrapes. And he brought a realness to Bruce Wayne. I really dug it. So like I said, they haven't really done anything since, and it's a shame.
What are your thoughts on the tumbler? That thing.
I have fun with it. It made for a good toy. I think my son has one around here still, because that movie come out when he was like real young, and I was trying to get him on the superhero kick. So he's got one of those tumblers around here somewhere still.
When I first saw that thing, I was like, "Where's the Batmobile?" Oh man. So go ahead and talk about which choice you got up next.
So my next one, I don't think you're allowed to talk trilogies without talking this trilogy. This was one of the best action trilogies to end the 90s and go into the thousands, and that's going to be the Mummy trilogy.
Oh, oh, okay. I thought you were gonna mention another trilogy.
No. I gotta give my boy Brendan Fraser some love here. Like, I'm so glad that
Absolutely.
he's getting a renaissance nowadays, because for the
Mhm.
longest time I thought he was basically done acting, and he's a
Right.
good actor. I mean, if you were a 90s kid, you grew up
Mhm.
watching lots of Brendan Fraser just in general, Bedazzled
Yes.
and Airheads and all that. But
Encino
these
Man.
were the movies where I was like, Brendan Fraser could probably be my guy. I dig him quite a bit. You get a
Yes.
whole nother series built off of this one with the Scorpion King, and
Oh man.
the only good one of the Scorpion King is the first one, in my opinion. But somehow there's more Scorpion King movies than there are Mummy movies, because there's
I
5
know. I
of those
know.
now.
Yes. Gosh, it's
But
ridiculous.
we wouldn't have got 5 Scorpion King movies if there wasn't 3 really good, solid Mummy movies. They even
For
tried
sure.
to redo this series with Tom Cruise. Like, they tried to get a bigger actor to
That's
fill the
right.
shoes of Brendan Fraser, and it failed. Like, I didn't watch it. I didn't see the new Mummy movie, but it
Mhm.
didn't do what they wanted it to do, which is redo the whole monster universe. It didn't do that because they weren't as good as these.
Mhm. For sure.
So, great
I
trilogy
do.
though. Great trilogy. If you
I
like action, you like
I
a little bit of
do.
comedy, a little bit of horror. The first one has a little bit of horror elements to it. So if you dig that kind of stuff, you gotta watch the Mummy trilogy. You got to talk about it. Got to give it its love. Just learning about the other four.
My,
Yeah,
my
and I
buddy
didn't know there were 5 of them.
Chillmonger.
I didn't even know there were 5 of them until I went to Big Lots one time
Yeah.
and I seen a 5-pack and I said, "There's 5 of those." I thought there was like 2.
Oh my gosh. Chillmonger, who has a great channel, he said, I'm just learning about the 4 other Scorpion Kings. Yeah, when I think back to that first Scorpion King movie, I think bad CGI. I think there was pretty bad CGI in that one. Um, trying to think of
It was
another
still
trilogy.
better than the CGI in The Mummy Returns. The Mummy Returns, he looks
Mhm.
like a video game character.
Yes, yeah. Another trilogy that just popped in my head from the late 90s, early 2000s is the Matrix trilogy. You
I
know,
was
some
gonna
might
bring that one up,
argue that
but they kind of messed it up
Mhm.
by giving us the 4th one.
Yeah, I I didn't think we would ever get a 4th Matrix movie, but it's out, it exists, and some people really hate it. I saw it once, and I never again since I've seen it.
Yeah, I seen it one time and I was like, I think that's okay. I think that's enough for me. I'll keep the trilogy
Yes.
and watch those.
But yeah, I appreciate what what the Wachowski brothers were able to do and as far as tell a story that is so unique. And till this day, you know that original Matrix movie is just bonkers. You take a concept like that and you turn it into something momentous.
Yeah, they really changed some things for sci-fi in general. What the only thing I
Mhm.
didn't like about the Matrix was how everybody tried to copy it after, and we had so many like slow motion things like that. That went all the way until like the late 2000s, until they stopped doing bullet time. I think one of the last movies to do it and
Yeah.
actually did it well was Wanted, and there was a
Mhm.
lot in between The Matrix and Wanted that did not warrant bullet time in their movie.
Yeah, it just goes to show that you know one film can change the trajectory going forward. All right. So
Well,
do you have
speaking of
another?
another trilogy that changed trajectory, and we're on the
Mhm.
sci-fi kick, Back to the Future. People still
Yes.
love this trilogy, still praise it. Why? Because it's like 3 solid movies. Even if you don't like
Yeah.
2 and 3 as much as part 1, you can't say they're bad. They're great. They're great movies, like all the way around. There's a few little continuality issues, but I mean, they're movies.
Mhm.
But you can definitely have fun with this trilogy. This trilogy also, I
Absolutely.
believe, it also sparked the Rick and Morty cartoon. I don't think Rick and Morty would exist if it wasn't for this movie or this trilogy. And
Yeah.
I like the fact that they want to respect this trilogy and never make a part 4 or do a remake.
And,
Doesn't
and
need it.
if you pay attention in movies and pop culture, there's references that go back to this trilogy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Road.
we're past I believe we're past all of the dates in these movies. Part 2 is like 2015, but I can't remember. And part 3 they go back to the West. So we're past all the dates in this movie now, and we still don't have the floating skateboard or the tie your own shoes yet. I'm waiting for those Nike.
Yes. I thought too. I thought it was a bit campy at times. I thought the moments where Michael J. Fox got to transition to different characters was a bit much. And then like the villains in each film was like Biff the whole like each time.
Yeah. They took one successful story and basically retold it 2 more times in different scenarios, basically.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, it's so brilliant because all 3 movies have it's got their action, they had a little bit of comedy in there. It's just
And
they're
super
thrilling.
sci-fi. Super sci-fi.
Yes.
If you're into sci-fi, you're definitely
Yes.
going to probably have a good time.
Chillmonger mentioned The Hangover. Yeah, let's talk about The Hangover for a little bit. I thought, when that movie came out, yes, I own 1 and 2. I can't remember much of 3 except the opening scene with the giraffe.
To be honest, you see that sticker there says October 2013. That's when I bought it at Walmart. I think I opened it up and I watched it once and I was like, okay. And that was it. I don't know if I've ever actually watched through the whole trilogy again. I've watched part 1 and 2 several times. I love part 1 and 2, but part 3, I just don't remember it that much.
Same here. 2 was it had its moments, but going to Bangkok, I thought that was a neat idea, but the humor there, it just didn't stick to landing for me, at least.
Yeah.
The first one was a simple, very cool premise. I think it needed to be one and done, but Todd Phillips, the director, he had other plans and managed to give us 3 films.
I mean,
I'd like to see
I do like the fact that this entire trilogy has all the same actors and producers and director and writers and everything. So everything is like, if you don't like part 1, you're not going to like part 2 or 3. If you love part 1, you'll probably dig part 2 and part 3. And then some people just really like all 3 of them. But you get some consistency here because it's all the same people that make them. And I really like that because, like, when you look at like the Back to the Future trilogy, there's a different director for each one of these. It's not the same director in any of them. So for a trilogy to keep the same director and writer and producers and actors, that's kind of hard to do nowadays because actors
Mm-hmm.
feel like they get too big to do the parts and they want more money, and then they're not really worth the money, so they just recast or they cancel the project.
Yeah,
So
there's a lot
if
of
anything, this
yeah,
showed that in the 2000s you could still have a good solid trilogy with a lot of actors or a lot of the same actors, you know.
yeah, for sure. What's another trilogy? I'm drawing a blank that we could talk about.
Well,
For those watching,
comedy
drop your
wise,
comments below.
these ones are considered to be
Mhm.
really good. You know, from the 90s, they did a third one just a couple years ago to finally make it a trilogy. But we got the Bill and Ted trilogy,
Oh, that's right.
and
Yeah.
even though they're a little bit older in this, I feel like
Mhm.
this is exactly who they would have been. You know what I mean? Like the two guys that are in these two
Yeah,
movies, I feel like this is exactly who they would have became.
for sure.
So,
And I like the fact that they have the two daughters introduced, and they kind of are thrown into the mix with the story. Um,
and what's nice about these is that, like, if you're a family person and you like watching movies with your family, you can watch these with the family, and there's some adult jokes that'll just kind of go over the kids' heads, so you get a little bit of
right.
adult entertainment. Um, but it isn't much. It's definitely innuendos. I mean, the original two are only rated PG, you know.
Mhm.
So, and PG-13 is only because our ratings have gotten a little stricter nowadays.
Right.
So, these are fine to watch with your family too, and they're very funny. And of course, they're sci-fi because they're doing time traveling and all that kind of stuff. I might have pulled a lot of sci-fi trilogies. Sci-fi really pumps out the trilogies, don't they?
Yeah. Yes. Can we? I don't know if we could talk about the Terminator trilogy. Well, I mean, technically, there's four,
There's
five, six of them.
Yeah, and there's a couple different trilogies on how you perceive them because some people perceive it as Terminator 1, 2, 5, I think, because 5 is like a sequel directly to 2, and then some people do 1, 2, 3, and then some people call it the quadrilogy, and they just do 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's different ways to watch them. Um, there's too many of them for me to consider it a trilogy anymore. But if we talk about just the first three, I think it's solid. I actually like T3. I'm a big fan of T3 and always
Mhm.
have been.
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's different. It's got like a T1000, a female T1000 in there.
Which she later went on to play Blood Rain, and that got a trilogy too. But I'm not going to
Oh
pull that
yeah,
trilogy out or talk about that because they're not good.
yeah,
The first
yeah,
one
yeah,
is the first movie is serviceable to video game fans, but beyond that, they just get kind of dumb.
for sure. I, how about the Child's Play trilogy? I know there's like four
Yes,
of them.
yes. The Child's Play trilogy is great. I didn't pull those down because I got the big box set that has like all of them in it, and it'd be hard to dig out just the three. But if you're looking at just the Child's Play movies, that's
Mhm.
a solid trilogy. There's a reason why they did part 3 and they stopped. And then it
Mhm.
took over 10 years before we got a part 4. They only gave us a part 4, I think, because money talks. But they didn't call
Right.
it Child's Play for a reason. They left the Child's Play trilogy the Child's Play trilogy.
Hmm. There's such a big difference between Child's Play 1 and 2. Like part
Yeah.
1 was like gritty and like grounded, and it felt like a murder mystery. And then part 2 is like I feel like they were trying something new. Definitely it felt like the colors were popping in the movie a lot of times. I felt like it wanted to be
I want it to be more
Like it was ready to be
slasher-ish, I feel. More like in line
it
to
was ready to be
Freddy.
a comedy. I don't know. But definitely it showcased Brad Dourif's acting range for sure. Like his
Yeah.
voice talent. He definitely had better it's a better script for him here. And three, I think that's an underrated film out of the bunch. But just as solid too. I like how Chucky's, and placed in these different situations.
Yeah, yeah, great. Like I said, I've always really liked him. I grew up through the '90s watching 2 and 3 on USA all the time. They played on
Mhm.
USA Channel
Yeah, for sure.
just about 24/7 all summer long.
Yeah.
But
Do you remember uh Monster Vision on TNT?
vaguely, vaguely.
It would be like on Friday nights sometimes, and it would be hosted by Joe Bob Briggs.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, yeah. And then on Saturdays, TBS did Dinner and a
That
Movie,
was
didn't
so
they?
cool.
I think that's what it was because TNT did
Yeah,
Friday
something
nights
like
and
that.
TBS did Saturdays. Because I remember they did Dinner and a Movie, and one
Monster.
time they were doing a Friday the 13th marathon, and I watched all the Friday the 13th on TV. It's not the way to watch them.
um, Yeah. Monster Vision was so cool because you had a host like Joe Bob Briggs, and he would like introduce the movie. It would be like a zombie movie or Friday the 13th. And then like there would be like a break from the movie, and he would talk about, fun facts about that movie. It was interesting.
Yeah. So I actually think one of my favorite comic book, because you can't really talk about trilogies and not talk about some kind of comic book, right? There's so many comic book movies out now, and so many of them did well that they got trilogies. We
Right.
might get a part 4 on this just because of nostalgic reasons, but the Spider-Man trilogy, this is solid
Oh
all the way up
man.
until about halfway through the third movie. About halfway through the third movie, it gets a little shaky. I remember going and seeing part 3 in the theater, and I left there a little disappointed. But the first 2 are so good, it warranted to make them a trilogy, you know?
Which
This
which
opened the door
Spider-Man
for the
trilogy
entire
is that?
MCU. There wouldn't be an MCU if it wasn't for these.
Is that Garfield? Andrew Garfield?
No, this is the Tobey Maguire
Raimi?
ones. This is
Oh yes.
these are the Raimi ones.
Yes, yes. They are
Oh.
excellent. I I saw two in theaters. I never thought a guy like Sam Raimi would take on Spider-Man. He went from like the Evil Dead movies,
Well, he
and
was
he
always a comic book guy because he did the first Darkman movie as well.
that's right. Yeah. And he also did a Western, The Quick and the Dead.
Yes, yes. Hey, Corey.
Uh, Corey says, "Hey, all, I'm sorry I missed the notification. No worries, man.
There,
If you didn't miss a whole lot, there's been a lot of technical difficulties for the past 30 minutes or so on my end. The Wi-Fi's been not the greatest." So what's another trilogy you want to show off, Jeff?
all right. So this one, if you were a '90s kid or even like an '80s kid, maybe you didn't admit
Mhm.
it, but you loved this trilogy.
Ooh,
The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles trilogy.
forgot
I
all
don't know a
about
'90s
that one.
kid. At least boys. I'm not gonna
Mhm.
say that little girls didn't like turtles, but they didn't give much here for little girls to work with when it comes to, it's for teenage boys as turtles kind of deal.
Yes.
So they didn't really give much for the little girls to aspire to be turtles. But
Mm-hmm.
if you were a young boy in the 90s or in the late 80s, you loved this trilogy. And I don't care what
Yeah.
anybody says. You can say part 3 is garbage. You can poop on it all you want. I still have a fun time with it. They go back to feudal Japan. They're still eating pizza. They're still being the turtles. This is a solid
Yes.
this is a solid trilogy. And just about any way you buy it now, everybody should buy this, because just about any way you buy it, you get these Blu-ray discs that are pizza slices.
Wow.
They're different pizzas.
That is cool. Yes.
Even when they condense the case, they've condensed the case down, they're still using the same discs that they've been using for years, which is fine because they're good discs. But I have the cheap set, obviously, but you can get this at Walmart pretty regularly for about $10 or $12, and it's worth every penny. I mean, come on, guys, the turtles, they're huge right now. My son loves them, and I'm so glad. Every generation seems to have their turtles now, kind of like every generation has their Power Rangers. So it's kind of cool that I get to still live through that with my kids, because these movies were super influential. I wanted to learn martial arts because of the turtles. And I always wanted to eat pizza because of the turtles. I think we fell in love with pizza because of these guys. I think most kids in the 90s fell in love with pizza because of the turtles. This was the
meal. The turtles first got introduced to us in the 80s with the animated series. And then 1990, we get a live action film. And just from there, I think a lot of us forgot about the show, and that was the core focus was those movies. I don't know, that was just me. But
I don't know. I really like the
video games too.
I keep the show pretty close on hand as well.
Oh wow.
I ended up getting this at Walmart about a year ago for about $40. I think it runs on Amazon for quite cheaper than that now, but this is the only way to get the entire series uncut, because when they did the single box sets, you had to buy them in weird funky volumes, and there were even episodes missing. So this is probably the best way to get it.
I think there's different versions now that have come out, as far as having the whole trilogy collection.
They did this exact same set. They've redone it recently, and the color's different, and it says Nickelodeon on the spine, because this was pre-Nickelodeon, so Lionsgate released it. But instead of being purple, I think it's a baby blue color now, but it's these exact same discs. There's no point in redoing these discs. They're all pretty solid for an 80s cartoon. You can't really ask for it to be any better. But I mean, dude, you get all 193 episodes. It's worth it. It's worth it. There's a lot of stuff in this. And when I go back to start watching them, I start to remember some of the episodes, and I'm like, man, I watched this probably way too much as a kid to still remember them at 35.
Right. Yeah. Hey, we got Brian here on the chat.
What's up, Brian? What's up, man? Going, bud?
So my next choice of trilogies would have to be Jurassic Park. Now, if any of you don't know this, Jurassic Park is my favorite film of all time. I thought it was lightning in a bottle. I thought the use of practical effects were really, really showcased in Steven Spielberg's film. I think it's a masterpiece from start to finish. Yes, it's based on a book. I wasn't a fan of Jurassic Park: The Lost World. It definitely took some risks. I didn't click with the dry humor from Jeff Goldblum and the rest of the cast. don't get me. I like Jeff Goldblum as an actor, but that awkward, quirky humor
for the
sprinkled in
whole
the movie.
runtime. We could have
Yeah,
used a little bit of a break there.
yeah.
Well, I am going to
It
show this
just
off because every opportunity I can get to show it off, I like to. I got this at a thrift shop probably about 10 years ago for 50 cents, and I got it for the artwork. But it's the original letterbox laser disc.
Wow. How much did you have to pay for that?
I got it for $1 at a Goodwill.
That's amazing.
About 10 years ago, because I mean it's a laser disc. Nobody really wants laser discs anymore. But I got it because it's Jurassic Park.
That's amazing.
We love some Jurassic Park.
If you do your research,
I don't think it opens up anymore. I think it just opens up to that, and then it's got your discs in there.
If you do your research, that could you could sell that for a pretty penny.
I mean, yeah, but I don't really buy my stuff to resell it. I buy it because I like to have it, kind of deal. Plus, I mean, this is the only laser disc. This is the only laser disc that I own, and it's just really cool to have stuff like this in there. Like it still has the original laser disc ad, and like the whole. You can buy like your whole like catalog. Like, so this was just a good get because like I said, I'm not collecting laser disc. I don't want laser disc, but I wanted to have a laser disc complete, and I figured the best one to have complete would just be one of the best movies of all time with Jurassic Park. So it's really cool that that's your favorite because it's one of my favorites too.
Yeah, there's a lot of scary moments in there.
The Jurassic World trilogy, because I know that a lot of fans consider that to be completely different. They separate those: Jurassic Park, Jurassic World. Do you do that? Or do you combine them all together?
Yeah, I separate them. Obviously, they can't match up with that those first three movies. And I have some gripes. About that trilogy. A big one pertaining to the fact that they decided to do just pure whole CGI dinosaurs the whole time and not go for the practical animatronic dinosaurs whatsoever, and that kind of bummed me out. I enjoyed the moments where some of the characters in the movie went back to some of the early Jurassic Park locations in the movie. And having the velociraptors as these, making them the focus of the movies.
Well, and making them
didn't work
like
for
turning velociraptors into pets. I had a little bit of a problem with that because if velociraptors were real, actually real, no person in their right mind would be turning them into pets. Not even scientists.
No. But as far as Chris Pratt goes, he's a good actor and all, but he's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah, he's not really one of my favorites either. Now, I have another trilogy here I want to show off that he's in, but that's that's not due to him. It's due to everyone around him.
Well, yeah, go for it. If you want to show off that trilogy.
So I'm gonna start off a little bit different than what I want to. So the next one is actually going to be, and this is what started the entire MCU, and it's still probably one of my favorites. 3 dips a little bit, but we're talking Iron Man.
Oh, yes.
Great trilogy. Basically, this trilogy saved Robert Downey Jr.'s career. There was no Robert Downey Jr. in terms of being a popular actor anymore until he came back as Iron Man. He had just about he had just about burned all his bridges in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah,
glad that he got the chance to be
yeah.
Iron Man, and I'm glad that
Well,
he's back in the spotlight because he's really, as an actor or as just as a rights, you know, he puts a lot of his money back into um, rehabs and stuff like that. Like he really tries to give back to the community. So like
mhm.
we gave him the honor of being Iron Man, and he's really turned himself around into almost like a real life superhero.
Absolutely.
And these are really good. I mean, shit. I remember going to the theater to see all three of these like at midnight. There's a memory that pops up. There's a memory that pops up on my Facebook. It'll come up real soon, probably around April or May, I think, where I was
Mhm.
sitting at a Denny's after I got done watching this at midnight when they used to do midnight releases of films. You had to
Mhm.
go out. They weren't allowed to show it to you before
Right,
12:01 on Friday morning. And we used to go and watch them, and then we'd go
right.
eat Denny's or the Waffle House afterwards. Um, like I said,
That's so cool.
this is a good ass trilogy. Obviously, it has to be pretty good. It kickstarted a whole franchise of over 30 films now. So
Yeah, I'm
one
right
of the
there
best.
with you. I think I was there opening weekend for Iron Man. It was like a Friday night, packed theater, and it was 2008, and it was just a blast. It was a fun time. I saw two also. I caught part two in theaters, and it was okay. Not as as memorable. It felt like every other superhero comic book film. I feel like um, three. I saw three in theaters as well. I like the approach there. I like that it wasn't that they had Tony Stark not doing Iron Man things. Um, but yeah, I appreciate part three for sure.
Yeah, like I said, three is still probably the low end of it. And I kind of feel like instead of
Hmm.
rushing and doing a third one, they should have waited a little while and filled in some other MCU movies and gave a little bit of breathing room so that way we could have spread the trilogy out a little bit. Because I feel like they just kind of,
Hmm.
in the grand scheme of what the has become, I feel like they kind of rushed the Iron Man trilogy because they're all kind of at the beginning, and then there's really no more Iron Man except for in all the other movies type of deal.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, this is the beginning of what was a huge MCU thing to come. This is phase one. This is the beginning of phase one, correct?
Yes, yeah. Iron Man is the very beginning, and I believe there was Iron Man, and then I I think Iron Man 2 even came out before the first Avengers movie. So you have the first two Iron Man movies before we ever
Mhm.
even got an Avengers.
Yeah.
So and if you try to think back to the
Right. I
to
think
the
you're
history
right.
of the MCU and you think back to just the first Avengers, that feels like so long ago. And then you think, wow,
Hmm.
most of Iron Man's story was told before that ever happened. So to me, I feel like they rushed it just a little bit,
Right.
but they didn't really have the grand scheme of what they were planning on doing. And I still don't think they do. If we've paid any attention to MCU in the last couple of years, it ain't been
Well,
that good.
nowadays they don't. It's just no, they haven't. And I think the downfall for me is having, deciding to put a lot of projects on Disney Plus. And I
Yeah.
think that's where a lot of the fan base got lost with those shows and deciding to not continue to put out stuff in theaters.
Well, and it makes it rough
But that's
because
another.
when you want to go to the theater to see it, you have like a checklist of things you have to see before you can go and see it now, and a lot of times it
Mhm.
involves a Disney Plus something, a movie, a short,
Right.
a mini series, or even a whole show. Like Loki has a whole show. You kind of have to watch the Loki shows to get what's going on in the MCU and understand what's going on. And I like the Loki shows, but like if I don't want to pay for Disney, well, how do I get those? Luckily, they're starting to bring all those out on physical media and stuff, but still, like it makes it hard to keep up with just doing the theater thing if that's what you do. Because I personally know people that don't stream; they only go to the theater, so they're going to miss half of the MCU now.
Yeah, as far as a lot of the shows on streaming go, I stay away from, because I feel like it's just the product. I mean, it's not really, making me want to sit down and binge watch, 6 episodes, 8 episodes of something we'll probably never get again, that's canon or per se, and just I don't know. I feel like it'd just be wasting my time.
Yeah, well, and a lot of times what I'm starting to notice with at least a lot of the new MCU projects, you spend all that time watching the series on like the series or the show or whatever, and then it builds up to the movie, and then by the time you get to the movie, it makes the show null and void. Like it was like the show was just a stepping stone to the movie, and you had to watch the show to understand what was going on in the movie. But by the time you get to the end of the movie, you could have skipped the show altogether, because they basically made everything null and void. They did that with the Captain America or the Captain Falcon Winter Soldier TV show. Like you can't really go watch that next Captain America movie without watching that show, because, well, how did he become Captain America now? So it's kind of, and those first
you're right. Speaking of that, yeah, I have to go rewatch that Falcon Winter Soldier. I didn't finish it all the way through, but yeah, it is what it is. What's another trilogy we could talk about?
Well, I'll bring it up. I haven't watched it. I've had it for a long time. It was actually one of the first Blu-rays I got back in like 2006 or 7 or 8, something like that. And I put the first one in and fell asleep during it and never went back to it. But if we're doing a stream and you get people commenting on this, we don't talk about this trilogy, you'll get some haters in your stream. And that's going to be the Godfather trilogy.
Oh, yes.
I've never, like I said, I've only ever attempted to watch the first one, and I worked third shift when I bought this. So, you know, if anybody knows anything about third shift, well, you just don't sleep right. So you don't really watch movies right. You don't really do anything really good. You just kind of sleep through life all the time. And I could never get through the first movie, so I never watched 2 or 3. But people hold this trilogy so high. Like it's on so many people's greatest trilogies of all times list.
Right.
You got some great actors in it too. I mean, and
absolutely.
And Coppola, you know, he's one of the best directors of all time. So, like I said, I don't think we're allowed to have this stream and not at least flash this up for a moment.
I'm right there with you. I have yet to watch that trilogy. But it's immense.
I like movies, so I don't know how I've missed it, and not seen it.
There's so many iconic moments in those movies. A lot of people praise, part 2. And yeah, I need to make it a habit of I need to watch those this year. I think I've waited too long. I put them off enough.
Well, see, and I see I've put it off so long now that I can't remember what it's called, but a couple years ago, my mom got me some sort of Godfather steelbook that was at Walmart, and I think it's a retelling of part 3. Right. Now I don't know which one to watch. If I've never seen them at all, like, okay, well, which one do I watch when I get to the end? Do I watch part 3 in this, or do I watch the retelling of part 3? And most people will tell me to watch the original and then go and watch the retelling. more than likely that's what I'll probably be told by
Yeah,
many Godfather fans, is just to watch this original trilogy and then go back and watch the retelling.
for sure. I know like the first two are what, like 3 hours each or something like that.
Oh, that's probably why I fell asleep during it. Um, they don't say the runtime on this. This set's kind of nice, but I think I had a J card on it back in the day, and I probably threw it away.
Hmm.
So I don't have the run times. Oh yeah, I do. Yeah. 177 minutes for the first one and 202
Wow.
minutes for the second one. So yeah, between the first two, you're already
Oh
at
my
like 5 hours.
gosh.
You're already at 5 hours.
Oh, it was years ago where um, I saw for the first time Saving Private Ryan, and that movie went on forever.
Yeah, and it's so good though. So good. I love Saving Private Ryan. That's
I
one
was
of my
trying to keep
favorites.
up with what was going on in the movie. Yeah, it's just,
Yeah, it can get a little tough because it does do some time jumps and stuff between the brothers.
mhm,
So
mhm.
yeah, that can be that can get you a little bit on that one. But I just really like that one. I need to get it. I don't have that one around. But I'm sure if I was to buy it today, it'd get a 4K announcement tomorrow.
Mhm.
That's how that goes.
Yeah. Let's see. How about the Evil Dead trilogy? Sam Raimi's. I really dig those movies. I like how they're so campy. I like how they're so spastic. Part one, The Evil Dead. I have a difficult time finding that movie out in the wild. How about you? I'm sure you have it.
Um, I mean, I have it, and I think I have it twice actually because I have it in a Blu-ray double pack with the second one,
Oh,
and then I have a
hmm.
steelbook of it that I got. Oh, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago when Walmart was dumping $5 Blu-ray steelbooks in the dump all the time. I don't even have a bin
Wow.
anymore. I haven't had a bin in my store for about a
Mhm,
year, but back when they did, every once in a
mhm.
while you'd find a $5 steelbook in there, and I got the original Evil Dead, the really nice blue one, right? I
Wow.
think I think that's the one that I got. Yeah, yeah. I never opened it because I already had the double pack. I literally got it just because I love the movie. But
That's amazing.
yeah, they got a 4K double pack out now too, but it's really expensive. Um, my son has the double pack, the 4K double pack that's got one and two in it. And I went to
Mhm,
go try to buy it again after because my mom got it for him for Christmas one year. I'm like, oh, I want to get it to add it to my collection. And it went out of print
mhm.
and it's like $100 now or more.
Wow.
I don't know. For
Yeah, like
some
on
reason, part
eBay?
one loses its streaming rights and all kinds of stuff all the time because they lost it from streaming as well. If you go to try to buy it on digital platforms, you can't buy it anymore. Now, I have it
Mhm,
digital. They didn't take it away from me. So I'm not trying to fear mongle digital purchases or anything. I still have access to my Evil Dead, but you can't buy it
mhm,
anymore. I don't know what the issue is with it. I mean, it's Anchor Bay and what, Lionsgate maybe? And Anchor Bay's back around, but I'm sure that they lost the rights to it
mhm.
in between shutting down and being reborn. But I
Right.
thought I always thought that first one was Lionsgate, but I feel like their rights for that movie just rotates between different studios or something because we always
Mhm.
lose access to the original Evil Dead. So
Yeah,
much
I
so
have.
that so much so that when I was young and my uncle decided he wanted to start getting me on some horror movies, he started
Mhm,
with giving me VHS tapes back in the 90s. and one of the first ones I ever had was Evil Dead 2 that had the skull on it. That was one of the first VHS movies I ever had. And I told him, I said, well, how do I watch Evil Dead 2 if I don't watch Evil Dead 1? He said, don't worry, you don't need to. It's kind of a funny remake of the original. I'm like, okay. I mean, I was like 19 years old, but I had no idea what he meant by that. But those have always been a really good trilogy. And Army of Darkness, you don't even have to like horror movies to like Army of Darkness. You could just like sci-fi, medieval, fantasy movies and have a good time with that one.
Yes. Yeah, there's I appreciate each and every one of them. Having Bruce Campbell as Ash, just placed in these different situations. And you add Sam Raimi's magic and being a director and all. It's just, you know, I think it's a perfect trilogy in my opinion.
I mean, so you know, Sam. Obviously, we brought up two different Sam Raimi trilogies today. He's a good director, man. Like he does good stuff, in my opinion.
Yes. Yeah.
And you know, so we did his little Star Wars or his Spider-Man ones. I'd like to see him do something else sci-fi, man. Like he's done a little bit of everything.
Yeah, he did a project for Marvel recently. It was Doctor Strange.
Yes. And that's my favorite. That's one of my favorite newer MCU movies. I went to the theater to see that one, like on purpose. And and I had a fun time with that. It felt like a Sam Raimi movie just within the MCU. It hit all the tropes.
I like it.
It definitely felt like it was his movie.
For sure.
And another one that, now see, I haven't seen this before, but it's on sale like right now because just like an hour or so ago, Arrow sale started at Barnes and Noble, and there was one that was just released.
Yeah, I saw that.
There was a movie of his that was just released. I had never heard of it, and I think it's even another, like, it's outside of his normal type of movie. It's called A Simple Plan. I've never seen it, but it's not like a horror movie or anything. From what I understand, it's kind of like a bone-chilling love story in a way or something. I don't know, but it's got Bill Paxton in it. And as soon as I found out it was a Sam Raimi film, I'm like, I kind of want to buy it.
Okay.
And it's on sale right now through Arrow. And honestly, it's probably really good. It's got Billy Bob Thornton in it as well. Now, that didn't have a trilogy, but I just had to, talk about some more Sam Raimi stuff.
Okay. I've heard of it. I've heard of it. Yeah. Is Bruce Willis in it too? No, I could be wrong.
I don't think so. I'm just seeing Billy Bob Thornton and Bill Paxton, Bridget Fonda, Gary Cole. So I guess it is a little bit of a psychological thriller or something, maybe. But still, like I said, there's that's a new one that just got a release. So,
all right. So I'm just gonna throw this last trilogy out there, and that would be the Toy Story trilogy. I remember seeing part 1 and 2 in theaters, but 3, I didn't see that one in theaters.
I actually went to the drive-in.
That's almost a pitch perfect trilogy, especially that first one. It's such a fun ride.
Yeah. And it's actually a Disney
Wow.
property that I
It
don't think was
surprised
like
me about that
stolen
for
from another
entry
story.
is the. Do you have a favorite out of the trilogy?
Um, I actually really like part 2 because I liked when they did Jesse and the Roundup
Mhm.
gang and gave Woody like a backstory.
Yeah.
Because when you
Hmm.
watch part 1, it was like, okay, well, why would he have like why is this Woody doll even of any importance? Like, where did the character Woody really come from? When we know that Buzz Lightyear had a cartoon, had commercials, and the whole works. Like, we knew that he was like this big space age thing, but we didn't know really where Woody came from. Ooh, cute kitty.
Hmm. Yep. This is cat number 3.
Yay.
His name's Romeo. Yeah, what Pixar, Disney were able to do with those Toy Story movies, it's unmatched, untouchable. And if it's true, if we're getting a 5th Toy Story movie, it's gonna make bank.
Yeah, yeah. Unless people just go and see it the night it comes out and they're like, "Hey, don't go watch this. It's garbage." I don't think it
Hmm.
it will be though because I mean, it's Toy Story. One, I don't think
Hmm.
they can afford to let the Toy Story franchise take on such a bad movie. And two, I just don't think Tim Allen and Tom Hanks would do a bad movie. They both said that they
Right.
weren't going to come back for another Toy Story unless the script was worth it. And part 4, I love part 4 just because they brought back Bo Peep. We never got to know about Bo Peep. We never
Oh
got to
yeah,
know what happened.
for sure.
But they're great. They're great. They're great movies. And Disney always gives them really good respect when they bring out new formats. They always they
Hmm.
always treat Toy Story the best. I think like because they got really nice 4Ks out now too. I believe. I'm not gonna upgrade. I don't need to. I mean, these are nice. They got
Hmm.
lenticulars in the works. Um,
Yes,
but Disney always treats Toy Story with utmost respect, and there's a
for
reason for
sure.
that because it's a solid trilogy. Like I can literally put part 1 in, and if I had like a 3-disc player, I just put all 3 of them in. I could watch them back to back to back and have a good afternoon. Great
That's
trilogy, great
awesome.
trilogy. That's a good pick, dude.
Yeah.
I didn't even. I tried to stay away from trilogies that got a 4th one, or
Hmm.
I'd probably have quite a bit more in my stack because there's a lot of really good movies or a lot of really good trilogies that did get a 4th one, and sometimes the 4th one was
Hmm.
good, and sometimes it was eh. And
Forgettable. Yeah.
sometimes for me, if they bring out a 4th one, I kind of just
Mhm.
I give up on the idea that it was ever a trilogy. Like another trilogy that I really like is the Men in Black trilogy. But they
Oh
kind
yeah.
of but they kind of messed it up by doing a 4th one.
I really
So
enjoyed the third one. I thought it was
the 3rd one is
uh,
awesome.
uh
I have a really fun time with that one.
clever.
And
Yeah,
Josh
with
Brolin, I
the.
mean, if anybody says that
Mhm,
Josh Brolin's a bad actor, go watch
mhm.
Men in Black 3. He's basically
Yes,
Tommy Lee Jones. He does such a good
yes.
job.
I've never. Who said that? Who said Josh Brolin's a bad actor? He's not. No.
No, I mean I don't think anybody ever has. Well, there was what was that one he did? Jonah Hex. When he did Jonah Hex, everyone was
Yeah.
questionable as to whether or not he could hold a lead role. I remember
Hmm.
that, but he's definitely proved
Hmm.
people wrong because
Oh
that
yeah.
was after Jonah Hex was before he did that this one. So he was like I said, he was really good in that. When you can take one actor and basically pretend to be another actor and you can't tell
Mhm.
that you're not that actor. They did that around the time that everybody started trying to do the CGI making them younger. because it wasn't
Mhm.
very long after that we got the Star Wars Rogue One where they did that, and
No.
they de-aged um, the commander. So I'm glad that I'm glad they went that route.
Mhm.
But there's not very many actors that could have done it. Josh Brolin did a great job doing that, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So let me know when you want to end the stream.
Well, I got one more trilogy I pulled that I could
Okay.
talk about here. This is actually, in my opinion, now of course
Mhm.
opinions are everyone's own.
Mhm.
This to me is the best standalone trilogy within the MCU.
Mhm.
I know people that do not like comic book movies, they do not watch the
Mhm.
MCU movies, but they like
Mhm.
this trilogy for what it is on its own. You don't
Mhm.
have to watch anything else in the MCU. You can watch all three of these back to back and not need any filler story or need to know anything else other than what's in these movies. And that's going to be the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy.
Yes.
This to me is the most solid trilogy of the entire MCU. Now, of course,
Mhm.
obviously the MCU is built upon multiple trilogies. We have our
Yes.
Iron Man, we talked about that. We have our Captain America, we have our Thor
Or
trilogy, we have our
mhm.
Avengers quadrilogy, but in my
Mhm.
opinion, none of those are as solid quality-wise as all three of these. If you
Mhm.
turn on HBO or Stars or wherever these are at on TV, I don't use traditional TV. I don't have it. But if I was to turn on traditional
Mhm.
TV, FX or something, and any one of these were playing, it could be at any part of any of these movies, and I'm just going to sit down and finish watching
Mhm.
it, commercials and all. They're just a good time.
Absolutely.
Like, and you can this was hilarious. This is when they brought in his dad and really
Oh yeah.
gave
Yeah.
the backstory of Star-Lord. And like we mentioned earlier, I'm not a big fan of Chris Pine.
Mhm.
He kind of gets on my nerves, but he's like the perfect Star-Lord. He fits right in with the rest of the crew. And
Chris
that's where
Pratt.
I was getting at earlier with
Mhm.
I feel like Chris Pine does a good job when he's surrounded by
Mhm.
other really good actors. And they did really good casting all the actors in this. I remember when the first one came out and they said Dave Bautista was going to be in it, and I'm like, oh my god,
Mhm.
another wrestling actor. I'm tired of
Yeah.
wrestlers becoming actors. By the time we get to this one, the part 3, Batista has earned my respect as an actor. He's done other things besides just the Guardian movies, but I'm glad
Mhm.
that James Gunn gave him the chance to be Drax because it opened up the door for him to act in other things. And Batista's becoming one of my favorite new wrestling actors.
Absolutely.
He did a lot of he did a handful of good roles. What was this last year? This was the year before. The year before, he did Guardians 3 and Knock at the Cabin, two completely
Yes.
different roles, and they were both, and he was fabulous in both. Whether you like Knock at the Cabin or not, you can't deny that Batista did a really good part in that movie.
Mhm.
Like you wouldn't know that he was Batista. So
Yeah.
to me, like I said, to me, you can erase every bit of the MCU, every trilogy there. Leave this trilogy. If you don't care
Absolutely.
about comic book movies, you don't care about the MCU, but you like sci-fi movies, I say you got to give these a chance. These don't sit up there with Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and
Mhm.
and those, but in my opinion, the best MCU trilogy alone. They all stand up. You don't have to watch in. You don't have to do extra homework for these. You can just watch these and understand the entire story. And by the time you get to part 3, it's a completely told story. So
No, you're
that's my favorite
absolutely right.
movie trilogy.
Yeah. And that's what's so I respect the hell out of the MCU for giving us, these quirky, you know, um, characters, they're based on the comic books, and I've never heard of them. And because of these movies, now I'm curious I really want to, dive into these characters again and know so much about them.
Yeah, my only issue with the Guardians movies is I think it was at the end of this one. They showed one of my favorite MCU characters, and they never brought him back for these two. And that's Howard the Duck. I think he had like a bit piece at the end of part 3, but they never really gave him a true speaking role. And he even had a voice actor. It was Seth Green. Like, he had like one line. I would have loved to see more Howard the Duck in this. I think we had a glimpse of him in Endgame. I'm kind of hoping that we see more of him in the next phase. Because that's just one of my favorites. I have the old 80s movie. It's not the greatest, but man, I have a hell of a fun time with it.
I own I think Guardians 1 and 2. I need to get 3 when it's on sale.
Yeah, the reason why, so I'm pretty particular. If I can, I would have loved to have had the slipcover on this one because it was an all white slipcover and it looked really nice. But it sold out within the first 2 weeks of this movie coming out. So I waited until Black Friday last year and got it for like $10 or $12. So I totally got it on sale too. But this is actually out of all of the new age, I say new age, let's say post Endgame, I think the two best MCU movies were Spider-Man No Way Home and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I think those were the two best post Endgame.
For sure. No Way Home, I'm not that big on. I think I like it for nostalgia purposes.
Now I will tell you, I don't think I might be wrong. I actually don't think I've seen it at home yet. I have it, and I opened it up and everything, and pulled out my digital code. But that's about all I think I did with it. I just remember that was one of the first movies I went to post 2020. That was one of the first movies I went to in the theater. It was completely packed. There wasn't an empty seat in the theater. I remember when they opened up the portals and there were people standing up and clapping and screaming, and it felt like I was at the movie theater in the 90s again. So to me, it brought a feeling. Whether the movie is really all that good, I don't really remember because I think I've only watched it once at home and once at the theater. So it may be a whole lot of it brought nostalgia feels for how I used to feel in the theater when I used to go. Because that's what we used to do. Things would happen in movies. We'd stand up, we'd clap, we'd holler. I remember that happening with Star Wars Episode 1 and like the pod racing and all that. And people were up and down and clapping, and we lost that somewhere. I don't know about you. I know you go to the theater some. I don't know if you have active audiences, but I don't really have active audiences at my theaters anymore. And most of the time that I go, I'm one of 2 or 3 families, because usually I go for family movies and there's 2 or 3 other families and they're on a Sunday and that's it. And it's kind of dead and not really much going on.
As far as like clapping goes, there's been times where once the movie's done, a few people will clap. But as far as like standing up and giving, standing ovations, I've never experienced anything like that.
And I feel like No Way Home was the last time I had something like that actually happen. And there was just people standing up and hooping and hollering. But, we already all had those rumors before the movie came out. So everybody kind of was anticipating it. But that was probably the biggest event movie-wise in the last 5 years.
Yeah, so much has changed. The theater experience is, especially, it's been, non-existent a lot of times. I've been in big movies I can think of that I've been in big crowds with. Last one was like Wicked. Well, Deadpool was, a big crowd pleaser. Deadpool and Wolverine. That's what I was talking about.
See, probably the now recently, probably Moana 2.
Mhm.
When I took the kids to see that,
Okay.
we went on a Sunday afternoon, and the theater wasn't completely full, but the parking lot was packed, and they were not watching whatever was next door. Whatever was next door, actually, they might have been watching what was next door because it may have been Wicked. Either way, the theaters were packed for both of those this last holiday season. So
I had
I've
the
gotten
Regal.
to the point, and I don't know how many movie lovers are like that, but I've gotten to the point now where I enjoy watching movies at home more because my setup at home is better than my local theaters. My theaters locally are historical landmarks, as in they used to be old playhouses that have been converted into movie theaters, and they're considered landmarks, so they'll never really get shut down. But they play the same movie, both theaters. Like I have a theater 20 minutes away and 5 minutes away, and they play the exact same two movies because they're only 2-screen theaters. So I have 4 screens, but only 2 movies play, and they usually play the same 2 movies for 2 or 3 weeks at a time. And a lot of times, by the time that they get 2 or 3 movies played for 2 or 3 weeks, I've missed so many releases, and sometimes it's sitting at the theater playing right next door, and I can stream it right here at home and watch it already. So it's like we got to figure out a way to make it more appealing to go to the theater, because at least my theaters, I don't have no types of memberships, nothing like that. They don't offer no memberships around me. I don't have any big name companies around, so maybe that's just a me problem and not an everybody problem. But I hear of people that got the Regal cards. They go all the time, and they'll say that every other movie has nobody sitting in it. So, but maybe they're going to 2 and 3 movies a week. So that statistically would prove that you're probably watching more movies than anyone else.
Yeah, the movie experience, like I said, the movie experience has definitely changed for better, for worse. Someone had a live stream last week, and they said that they miss going to the movies pre, internet, with just going to see a movie, not knowing what it was about, without watching any trailers.
Yeah, I literally, like, if I see a project come up and I like it or it looks interesting, I'll go and I might go and watch the first trailer, but I almost never finish the trailer all the way through if I'm interested in possibly seeing it in the theater. If I'm interested in seeing it in the theater, I'll watch the first 30 or 45 seconds of the trailer and I'll cut it off, because after that, they usually ruin the movie.
Absolutely.
Like, just speaking of like Wicked, right? Nobody knew it was a part 1 until you went to see it, and part 1 popped up underneath the title. Well, then when you're watching the movie, you get to the end of the movie, you realize the end of the movie, they've been showing in the trailer the whole time they've shown the movie. The very first time they showed the movie off, they showed the end of the movie. The very first trailer showed the very end of the movie, and I'm like, I gotta stop watching trailers.
Yeah, those trailers, man, they're out of control. There's, nowadays they'll give you a teaser trailer and then a full length trailer, and then last minute trailers before the movie's released, and it's just a mess.
I don't need to know that much about the movie. Just give me one good solid teaser trailer, not spoiler trailer.
Absolutely.
I feel like they're taking their movie and they're throwing the entire movie into an AI algorithm, and they're saying, make me a trailer. And AI is just generating these trailers out of the whole movie. And AI is like, we'll just ruin the movie for all these people.
And
what it
what
seems like
bugs
nowadays.
me the most is like trailers will reveal like big scenes, like the peak of the movie, like those big action scenes will be in the trailer, or scenes in the trailer aren't aren't in the movie, actual movie, and it's ridiculous. All right, man. Do you have any last minute things you want to add?
I mean, I don't really have any other trilogies, I don't think, to talk about. Those were all most of I own most of my favorites that I can think of. And any of the ones that I didn't bring up,
Mm-hmm.
you brought up, I feel like.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
probably a
You
trilogy
brought,
out there that's like one of the biggest ones, and we're just missing it. And somebody's gonna get in the comments and be like, "How did you forget this?" But I can't think of
oh,
any more.
uh, I have a question. Do you know how long the Arrow video sales going on at Barnes?
The rumor is February 7th, I think. Let me look at that real quick because somebody said it. Uh, okay, yeah, it's likely to end on February 2nd. So most of
Oh,
January.
okay.
And
That's
and this
awesome.
isn't the first time. I was trying to tell some of my friends about this earlier in the month because I was on a live stream and we were talking about our criterions, and I said, "Yeah, I bought enough
Mhm.
criterions to get me a $10 Barnes and Noble credit, and I'm going to use it
Yeah.
next month on the Arrow sale." And everybody was like, "Arrow sale next month?" And I'm like, "Yeah, there's been an Arrow sale every January for the past 3 Januaries." So
Oh wow, I didn't
I'm
know
pretty
that.
excited about it. I might get that Simple Plan with by Sam Raimi. I might go ahead and grab that up because a lot of people are talking highly of it.
I have my eye on Donnie Darko, the Arrow
That's
exclusive.
a good one. It looks great on 4K
Look,
or
it's
even the Blu-ray. Are you
17
getting the
bucks right
Blu-ray of
now.
it?
Yeah, the one that's 17 bucks on sale. I think it's
That's
Blu-ray.
I think that might be the standard Blu-ray. I don't know. I haven't
Or
I haven't really
maybe
looked
maybe
at it
standard.
very much.
Mm-hmm.
I got I bought the big box one off of Tony Basement Blues.
Oh, okay.
So I haven't I never even looked at what the other options were to be able to buy the movie. Oh, okay, 17.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is yeah, it's the Blu-ray. It's probably the they're like fat cases with a really nice slipcover on them because that's how my mall
Yeah.
rats is. Oh, I love those arrows that are like that. But they do have the
Mm-hmm.
4K as well, and it is 50% off. But man, Arrow 4Ks are pricey. But if you wanted to see that one, it's this is the 4K one. It's really nice and thick and chunky.
Oh,
It's
wow,
got a
that's nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's got a big old book in it, big art book, and then the
Okay.
4K in it and everything. And I think this is the only way they sell the 4K is in the big box like this. I don't think they sell it in a standard. So if you get the 4K,
I
I
like
think
how it's not.
it's a little bit more, but you get that big box, and it does have both cuts in it. But I think the Blu-ray does too. So
I like how you didn't open it. Like it's still in the package.
yeah, I haven't opened it yet. It's one of my favorites. I
Mm-hmm.
haven't got around to checking out that 4K cut yet. I ended up giving
Mm-hmm.
my Blu-ray to my son before I
Mm-hmm.
realized that Arrows didn't have Blu-rays in them. So I might have to rebuy Donnie Darko one more time because I don't.
Yeah,
I try to keep a Blu-ray copy of movies at the very least or a DVD copy because I don't have 4K players all through my house, and I'll
for
never
sure.
spend the money to have 4K players all through my house. It's
Yeah,
just
the
easier to
only
have Blu-ray players.
yeah, the only 4K player I have is on my PS5.
Yeah. I started with an Xbox
Mm-hmm.
One, and I
Mm-hmm.
still have that Xbox. And then I got another an Xbox One a few years ago, and then I got a couple PlayStations and Xboxes and stuff. So I think I got like 4 game consoles now that play 4K discs between the three
good.
Xboxes and the PS5. And then I got a couple standalone players, but all my standalone players, they're all ones that everybody says are garbage, but I don't have problems with them. I got the Sony, the X700s. Everybody's like, oh, they freeze. I don't know, man. I went on there and changed some settings, and the only time my movies freeze is if I pause them. If I pause a 4K disc, it will freeze. Right. It will freeze every time. If I watch the movie all the way through and I don't pause it, flawless. But then I got an LG player, and everybody says the LG players are just straight garbage. I think my LG player is better than the Sony's. But that's just me. I like the pictures on them. I think they look good. I think they sound good. And they do Dolby Vision, so it's nice if you use Dolby Vision. But man, I think a PS5 is a good player. Like, they play the discs. I've never been one to be like, hey, your game console's not good enough to play your discs. I was one of those people that my family bought a PS2 because it was a good DVD player.
What's the cheapest 4K player out there?
Probably, if you can find the LGs, probably the LG players, since they're not making them anymore. When I started looking up the model that I have, I was seeing them for about $105.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, because they're trying to basically clear out the warehouse. Now, if you can't find one of those on sale, normally the Sony X700s are about $150, $160. So, but I will tell you, if you're looking to do a standalone player and you want region free and you just want to do it all in one, go to Orbit DVD's website and just order one of their Sony 4K region free players. And then you would have the one player that would just do everything, 4K, all region DVDs and Blu-rays. Then it's just a one and done box. And I think they charge about $250 for that, but then it'll play every disc. I got a region free Blu-ray player for Christmas, and I'm loving it so far. I don't have a lot of region B discs, but there's a lot more Amazon listings that I can actually look at now and not worry about not being able to play the disc. So that's really nice.
That's great, man.
But that's what I would do, dude. I would look at Orbit, Orbit DVD and look at their region free players. Cause I believe it's the Sony 800s that they're selling that are region free modded. And then you would just have an all-in-one box.
That is fantastic. Yeah. All right, man. I got stuff to do. All right. Thanks, Jeff, for joining me. Thank you for everyone who
had me on, dude. I would love to do some more live streams this year with you. You know, we're still pretty early into the year. I got some stuff coming together I want to do, so maybe I can have you on one of mine as well. We'll get some things popping off, man. I think 2025 is going to be a great year for up and coming YouTubers.
Absolutely. I agree with you. All right, folks. Thank you for joining me and Jeff. Take care.
Bye, everybody.